Okay, so let's kick off then. I think we'll get a few more attendees as we go along. Yeah, so. Any latecomers can also take part of the recording. So this is a recorded webinar. We'll put it on YouTube after this session, so you can also look at it after them. So hello and welcome to the second TLA webinar. My name is Thomas Andersson. I'm the co-founder of TLA Robotics and one of the 6 group leaders. I'll be very brief so we can get on to the exciting part, which is then the company presentations. So a little bit about Tech London Advocates, or TLA for short. It's a voluntary organization that was originally set up to promote the tech ecosystem in London, but the group has now expanded. It's got several different working groups. It's got chapters across the world as well. So it's a really big group. There's about 10,000 members in the UK alone. If you want to join the group, it's free. And I should share my screen as well. I just remembered. Where is my... sorry, guys. It's coming up. There we go. Yeah. I'll go on. I will share that in a bit later, so you can see the email address as well. So actually, the email address is tla.robotics@gmail.com. So joining is free as well. So the TLA Robotics Working Group was set up in April 2020 with the purpose of encouraging and promoting the robotics and automation ecosystem with a focus on the UK and Europe. And we have 3 aims: to encourage investment in robotics and automation, to increase adoption of robotics and automation in the UK and Europe, especially in the UK, and also thirdly, to improve the gender balance that we see across the robotics and automation sectors as well. So when it comes to investments, so what I've seen in my work, I work a lot with investors. We see that most of the investment in robotics actually is going to US and to Asia as well right now. Let's see if I can share my screen here now. There we go. So in one recent project I've done, we found that 80% of the companies, or 60% of the companies were based in Europe. 14% of the companies were based in the US, but US companies, they've taken 80% of all the investments, or they extracted that investment. So yeah. I should also add that our medium to long-term aim is to organize physical events, but that's obviously been, say, hampered by the COVID as well. Yes, so what we can see here is then on the screen here. Here's the team that makes up TLA Robotics. I should make a note that we can we do questions during this the presentations as well. So our team members, they will be able to answer any of the questions. If it's a question with particular focus on one of the companies, we can field that as well to the company, just so you know. Yeah. With that, I really want to say a big thank to Philip at Robot Center, who are sponsoring the Zoom hosting for this event. And without this, we wouldn't really be able to do this event here. So with that, I will stop sharing. Sorry, I had some problem with that. And over to you then, Philip.
Cool, thanks, Thomas. Thank you very much. No, always big fan of these events. I'm just gonna share my screen as well. And let me just go presenter mode. Right, okay. Right, can everyone see my screen? Perfect. Let me just move this as well because that's in my way. Brilliant. Right, yeah, so my name's Philip English. I am Chief Operations Officer at Robot Center, a collaborative robotic integrator. I've personally been fascinated with robotics ever since I saw my first movie when I was a young child at the cinema, which was Short Circuit, if some of you guys can remember that one, Johnny Five. So since then, I've always had a passion for robots, and as we're getting closer to the real life Johnny Five. So a big part of that would be to do with software. And this is why I've put together the 5 software trends. So with software being famed for being fast-paced and innovative, the future of robotic software is an exciting one to see unfold. So these are the 5 trends that I've put together for you guys. One second. Right, the cloud. Starting with the cloud, trend 1. So the cloud will only get bigger over time. The use of computing with cloud storage and other technologies that allow for higher levels of human-robot interaction and learning is contributing to the robotic transformation of companies. More powerful robot solutions are growing thanks to cloud technologies that give the ability to handle heavier computing processing tasks, which basically enables more powerful and cognitive collaboration. And this greatly increases the available data to share with machines and humans. So all in all, it should mean that prices should drop for consumers and software functionality is expanded and refined. So that's trend number 1. Trend number 2 we've seen is Python is still dominant in the coding realm. And basically Python is on a roll right at the moment. And according to statistics, it's growing rapidly to become one of the top languages in robotics, mainly because both Python and C++ are the 2 programming languages found in ROS. Python has a huge number of free libraries, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and it's generally easy to use and saves time programming. And then with more and more robotic-friendly electronics now supported Python out of the box, e.g. Raspberry Pi, we'd like to continue to see a lot more Python software and robotics from the new generation of developers around the globe. Trend 3 is artificial intelligence will only get better over the next few years, with artificial intelligence and robotics proving to be a powerful combination for automating tasks and processes. AI in robotics gives flexibility in steps and actions and enables the robots with learning capabilities in various applications. Artificial intelligence in robotics market is expected to register a compound annual growth rate of 28%. For the forecast period of 2020 to 25. So that's an interesting figure. And so all in all, artificial intelligence in robots offers companies new opportunities to increase productivity, make work safer, and save people valuable time. Trend number 4 is the Internet of Things. It's set to grow and grow. And with the Internet of Robotic Things, IoT, set to be a $20 billion market by 2024. I found a great description of IoT from ABI Research, which is Internet of Robotic Things as a concept where intelligent devices can monitor events, fuse sensor data from a variety of sources, use local and distributed intelligence to determine best course of action, and then act to control or manipulate objects in the physical world. And in some cases, while physically moving through that world. So exciting to see what the Internet of Robotics thing will have up its sleeve for 2021. Last one is trend number 5. So mixed reality might be something to keep an eye out on. Industry's uses of augmented reality and virtual reality in conjunction with robotics continues to grow. Manufacturers, militaries and healthcare providers all look to find new uses of this technology. There's a rate of growth is projected to continue over the next coming 5 years, with practical uses of the technology continue to develop and existing users move into further maturity. An interesting fact I found about this one is that it's projected that 75% of mixed reality will be due to be on mobile phones by 2026. So that was just a quick overview of what we've seen on the market. If anyone's interested or wants to know more, then please feel free to reach out to me. we are keen to get people onto our first step of our ROI methodology to find out and research what's possible. And lastly, the Robot Center team, we all grew up watching sci-fi films, both seeing visions of utopian futures and dystopian futures. So we want to be architects of real positive future that is powered and supported by robotic technology. So we align to global goal number 9, which is to build resilient infrastructure, promote sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. And we support charities that are aligned to this. And for that, I will pass it back to the first speaker.
Excellent. So yeah, thanks, Philip, for that. With that, we move quickly on to Alias Robotics and Endica from Spain.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Tom. Thanks very much for raising the invitation, and in particular to Philip for sponsoring this opportunity. So very quickly, may I try to share my screen? And please do confirm that you can see me and hear me properly. That's okay. Can you hear me? Can you see me? That's fantastic. So there we go. So it's Endica Giluriarte, CEO of Alias Robotics, and Alias Robotics is a robot cybersecurity company. We are a company focused in this market niche, and we take this from the robotics proxy to cybersecurity of robots and robot components. In particular, Alias Robotics was founded upon previous success stories in robotics, and we do have the experience and we do have the niche expertise that it takes to tackle the cybersecurity of these robotic systems. Now, it has become very clear from Philip's talk before that we live in the era of robots, and this won't happen, and this is happening. Although we must state that it is a very early day in robotics. It is a dawn of an industry that will follow up in the coming years, decades, and probably millennia. We see robots every day working with us in our homes, performing professional tasks, but more particularly and more, let's say, intensively, we see robots in our industries. Industry that is now transitioning towards the Industry 4 paradigm, where the connectivity is key and where other components, such as cybersecurity, becomes critical. Now, there's some public case studies that we've been publishing as Alias Robotics back since 2018, showing, depicting, let's say, the landscape that is happening right now in robotics. We normally say that it is happening the very same not learned lessons that happened in other IT industries at the very down of them, and the let's say cybersecurity lessons are not learned, and the cybersecurity status of robotics is a thing that needs to improve. But it's better to see something rather than saying it. That's why I brought to you some videos with this little bottom line of do not trust robots that I want you to take as an advice, let's say, for default. And this is something that we have been able to do through manipulating remotely this safety system of a very popular autonomous mobile robot. Now, alternatively, an attacker could exploit present vulnerabilities, as you can see in the top right, to retrieve the map of a sensitive industry. In this case, you can see in there the headquarters of Alias Robotics, but in Vitoria-Gasteiz, Spain. Alternatively, the industrial manipulators are not attack-free entities. An attacker could exploit the network attack vectors to ransom, or alternatively, just hijack the robot by using a simple USB by exploiting the vulnerabilities present on this industrial collaborative manipulator. Now, this is why Alias Robotics has built the Robot Immune System, a robot endpoint protection platform for robots. This is robot software that acts like a next generation antivirus. that is installed directly into your industrial robots. We do support the top sales industrial robots, and there's a list that is public in our web, but please do ask us if you if you want certain information for your robot. This is how you operate RIS. RIS gets installed into the teach pendant of, in this case, of this universal robots industrial robot, and you train it for a certain period of time. So it learns about the usual pattern of life within this robot. Outside this training phase, then you have a fully intelligent detecting system to monitor your robot operation. Sorry?
30 seconds left.
Okay, so the biological inspiration behind the RIS, you can find it out there, and there's a flexible licensing associated to it, following research and development professional and certified licenses according to industrial security standard. We do provide some security services as well, so we can help throughout the security process to companies. And please do contact us in our locations in Spain or in Boston. And I would like to thank you again, and stay safe, stay secure.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Enrique and Alias. Can I just remind all the attendees that taking screenshots, it's a really good way of capturing if you want to contact anyone with emails and so on as well. That's going onto the screen. With that, we're moving on to Owen and SLAMcore from the UK. So over to you, Owen.
Hi, thanks, Thomas. Awesome. So let me just share my screen and we'll jump straight in. So, okay, I'm looking for thumbs up from people. Is that coming across okay? And can I jump between the slides? That's the question. Okay, cool. Okay, so hi, my name's Owen. I'm the CEO at SLAMcore. Now, robots struggle to cope with change. So when the lighting starts to vary, when the structure changes, and when there are too many people walking around, it's essentially when the world gets a bit too real. Even today, robots struggle to answer the following three questions. Where am I? How far away are things? And what are they? And these are the three questions of spatial understanding. And the biggest cause of robotic failure is when a robot gets the answer to one of these wrong. Now, this is a problem that nature has already solved. And there's a reason why nearly every animal on the planet uses vision as its core sensing modality. If we take a camera and fuse together simple data such as from low-cost sensors as gyroscopes and accelerometers, and we optimize that software to run on low-level silicon, then we can deliver commercial-grade spatial understanding on hardware that's actually available today. And this is exactly the approach that the AR/VR industry has taken already. Here we actually see three of probably the most advanced spatially aware consumer/early stage industrial products on the market today. And they all fuse low-cost gyroscopes and accelerometers with vision to tackle these three questions. But these tech giants have all heavily optimized their algorithms to only run on their specific industry, for their specific hardware, sorry. So the robotics industry is made up of thousands of niche verticals, all with their own technical and commercial requirements. And we don't need a single solution that works well on one hardware platform. We need solutions that are flexible, configurable, and allow us to try different hardware combinations to find the one that works for us. Well, unsurprisingly, that's exactly what we're doing here at SLAMcore. So we actually span out, a quick bit of history. We span out from Imperial College about 4 years ago, founded by absolute world leaders in the field of machine vision. And after multiple funding rounds led by top investors, we've now built an incredible team of 25 staff from 17 nationalities around the world. Together have produced 50 patents, 500 papers, and 50,000 citations during their time. So they've been busy. And after 4 years of development, I'm extremely proud to tell you that the SLAMcore Spatial AI SDK is hitting the market. So developers can use this to create their own vision-based solutions with our proprietary algorithms at the core. So our public SDK is available for free, and we've teamed up with Intel to make it out of the box compatible with the RealSense D435i sensor, if you've ever used that. And through our pay-to-play Visionaries program, you can also gain access to other sensor configurations and build for ARM architectures such as the Qualcomm Snapdragon, NVIDIA Jetson, and what I'm super proud of is the Raspberry Pi. To get this running on that is a huge achievement. But let's just take a bit of a closer look at what we're providing. So the first thing, as I said, is the robot needs to know where it is in space. So our algorithms analyze each frame from the Intel sensor and you use that to build a centimeter accurate map of the key points in the environment while simultaneously calculating the position of the robot relative to those points. That's what SLAM stands for in SLAMcore. So here we actually see it running on a remote control car, building a point cloud outdoors whilst positioning that car in space to centimeter accuracy, all in real time on an ARM CPU. Now, second, a robot also needs to know what the shape of the world is so it can navigate effectively and not crash into things. So our solution answers this by using the same Intel sensor, fusing the depth information generated by the infrared depth camera, and fuses that into a 3D map, again, in real time on an ARM CPU, which can be used for path planning and obstacle avoidance. But for truly spatially aware machines, robots need to not just know the shape and the position of the world, but they need to know what the objects are. They need context. And is that a person? Is it a chair, a wall, a ceiling? We've actually developed a proprietary panoptic neural network which segments out the objects and categorizes them all in real time. Ultimately, as we fuse the three levels together, this will allow the robot to identify objects and position them in 3D space and time. So this will really give full level spatial understanding to the robot. And the great thing about what we've done is in the past, it could take months, maybe years to build a great vision-based system, if at all. And we've actually reduced this from months to minutes. So if you head to our website, sign up for an account, you can download the SDK and be off. We will need to approve you first, so please request access on our website. As long as you've got the hardware we support, you can be up and running in less than 30 seconds. So, and actually you can see for yourself, in the time it's taken me to present this slide, that was not non-edited, not sped up. That was actually me going on a fresh Ubuntu machine, installing it from scratch. So in my last kind of slide, I really do believe that we're in a new era for autonomous machines. We've already heard that. And we are absolutely committing to open up this technology to the world, from hackers to tech giants, from small companies to multinationals. The more companies we have playing in this space, the more this will drive innovation and ultimately allow us to see the true potential of robots for a force for good in the world. And we want to be a huge part of that. So if you want to join us on that journey, please reach out. I'm happy to talk anytime.
Excellent. Thanks a lot for that, Owen. Quite a condensed presentation. Interesting. With that, anyway, we move over to Fizyr and Herbert in Holland, Netherlands.
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen? Yes, thumbs up. Okay. We're a scale-up in the Netherlands, founded by a professor, Martijn Visser, a robotics professor. He has an academic view of the world, and he started the company Delft Robotics a few years ago. And we're in the business of logistics, enabling robots to cope with variation of items and shapes and size. So everything you buy online currently is being picked by humans. So e-fulfillment, order picking, etc. Then it's packaged into a box or a bag, and it's also handled by humans. I've got a short video to show this, and this is it. So this happens all around the world, 7 times 24 hours, where humans have to pick parcels. These are big parcels, but you can imagine also the small parcels from China are all being picked by humans. Day in, day out. On average, a parcel from DHL is being picked at least 8 times by a human, up till 16 times. So in this case, they are all be placed on a sorter, and then the sorter is being scanned in a scanning tunnel, and then it's being delivered to towards the area where they need to go. So this is up till now, and you can imagine that in times of Corona, it only increased. So why this has not been automated so far? Because of the variation in shape, in size, in color, in material, and how it's stacked. Just as an example, if I drop this small towel 1,000 times, the robot will see 1,000 different, let's say, towels, but it's the same one. So what we've done, we trained a neural network with supervised learning to enable a robot to generalize and to see the item and knowing where to grasp. And so that's what we do. So we built this algorithm, and it's being used in both in order picking and in parcel handling. Just as an example, you see a roll cage where we pick from, or an auto store we pick from the bin. And maybe just an example, you see the camera, what it does, it takes the image. So we take the point cloud, so the 3D data. We do the segmentation, you see the green bounding boxes. We find all kinds of classifiers, so we can see, for instance, if it's a box or if it's a bag, etc. So all kinds of classifiers that are relevant, and we give it we propose the grasp process in 6 degrees of freedom, X, Y, Z plus the rotation. So that's all done by the neural network in less than 300 milliseconds. To give an example, you see a drinking cup from a baby. And if you see the point cloud left above, you see we are looking for a surface big enough and flat enough to attach a vacuum cup to singulate it, to pick it up. And so that's generating a 6 degrees of freedom grasp pose, which you also see in the groceries in the bin on the right. So the angles green, red, and blue represent the angle where the suction cup should apply force. So this is just an example of the work we've done with picking from this bin. So we're in logistics, which is really growing very fast. So our systems are being used in production of course, in Europe, in North America, and up till China. So we have integrators using our software, and it's not only for item picking and parcel handling, but it's also for depalletizing, for truck unloading. And we even pick towels. So we have an algorithm that finds the corners of towels and then feeds it in a folding machine. So we used to be bootstrapped the first year, so we really grew, and I think we are an exception in this field. Now we got funding beginning of this year. We're growing faster. We did use ROS in the past, but we stopped that due to quality. We had everything in C++, but we moved now to Rust. So it's our newer environment. So we have production systems, so they really rely on performance. So we have to get the best systems for us. This is our timeline. So we are a previous winner of the Amazon Picking Challenge, and we're based in Delft and close to the university, in an old university building. That's it.
Excellent. Thanks a lot for that, Herbert. It's very exciting days for logistics, robotics for sure. Mm-hmm. We keep hearing about lots of people being interested in investing in it. So with that, we're handing over to Sebastian from HAL Robotics in the UK.
Hello.
But could you stop sharing?
Yeah. Yes, I am.
Okay. Sorry.
There we go. Hopefully that's visible to everyone. So my name is Sebastian. I'm one of the co-founders of HAL Robotics. HAL Robotics are a software company based here in London and in Paris. And we provide solutions and services to model, program, simulate, and increasingly communicate with applications involving industrial robots. As I mentioned, we have offices here in London and in Paris, but we have clients absolutely all over the world and in all sorts of different industries, from food and beverage to aerospace, arts and crafts to construction. And the ones I've picked out here in particular are those that I think best exemplify what we do, because they're currently under automated. They tend to work with very small batches or even one-off pieces. And the operators that work in these fields are more often than not non-expert users, or at least we have to cater for non-expert users in these fields. And we do that by striving for simplicity and flexibility. It's obviously an approach that will work for any other industry, but for these in particular, it's particularly critical. So on the simplicity side, we offer robotic programming solutions tied directly into CAD packages with which our users are already familiar. Those solutions themselves are actually built on top of our robotic framework, which is a flexible, cross-compatible, lightweight, and highly extensible software library that allows us to develop custom software which will run on PCs, embedded systems, or in the cloud with bespoke user interfaces to suit any skill level. To me, there are three major benefits of flexible digitized automation. And this project by CETA, called A Bridge Too Far, I think embodies them all perfectly. Firstly, the team at CETA used simulation and the fact that they have robots tied into CAD to optimize their structure, not only for performance, but also taking into account manufacturing constraints like production time, toolpath feasibility, and a few other parameters. They also make use of automated toolpath generation to push their novel process much further than it could be if programmed by hand. There are something like 10,000 different targets on each of their panels, and I can tell you from having written some code by hand, you're never going to do it. It's too long, it's too boring. And finally, they use the fact that CAD and toolpaths are adaptive. That is to say, the robot is reprogrammed automatically when a part changes to make each part in their structure unique at no extra cost, with minimal variety of time per piece, and a complete freedom of design to end up with a truly mass customized and highly performative product. These same strategies can be applied regardless of the industry or material being used, and they can be tied in with sensors to perform more complex adaptive processes. Here, for example, we have glass blowing or glass bending, actually in this particular case, steam bending of wood, and even robots on construction sites that we're working on at the moment. And just because it's fun, once you've got sensors in the mix, you can tie people in and have a bit of human-machine interaction going on. So this was a student at a workshop we did a couple of years ago now, who's controlling a robot with his right hand and the gripper with his left. And it appears that I've raced through that, but I'm going to leave it there. So please feel free to reach out and yeah, ask any questions you may have.
Well, that gives a spare minute for us. Well done, Sebastian. Thanks a lot for that. Very interesting solution you have there. As said again, feel free to field any questions through the Q&A tab to any of the attendees. Anyway, with that, we should move on to Miranda Software in France and Laurent.
Yeah. Hello, thanks again. I will share my screen. There we go. There we go. So let's mask this. Okay, so I'm Laurent from the IRAI company based in France. So we are developing software for the industry in the education since 1988. So today I will show you a software that we developed for students to learn programming language. That's called Miranda. So this is a simulator for robots, small robots that you can find in some schools that you can program either in Scratch or Python. So let me show you directly inside the software. So we developed these tools because particularly in schools, they don't have access to a lot of robots. This is takes some budget. So with this tool, they are able to work together at the same time, either in simulation and then work with the real robot, or make tests before producing their own robots. Some schools do that with their children. So with Miranda, they can do all that. So they can simulate their own robot, test a challenge inside Miranda, then transfer the program to the real robot to test it. There's also an editor, so you can make your own robot before producing it and testing every aspect of the position sensor, etc. So to do that, we propose challenges for the students. So we propose one challenges per robot. So for example, is a small robot that's pretty common in the schools. It's called the MBot. So this robot can be programmed, as you see, in Scratch or in Python. So for example, there's the challenge is to program the robot to go to each gate. So for example, I can simply make a small program to go past the first gate. So it will be a good way for the students to learn programming without damaging also the real robots. And then what's good also is that as a teacher or as a parent, you can follow the progression. So you have here students that I made inside this account, so I can follow their progression inside each changes and also see their programmation they've done to help them. So there, this is the program I did earlier, so I can just test it. And with Miranda, so this is a predefined challenges with also solutions that can be given. But you have access to an editor, so you can create your own challenges or modify challenges that are given. So you can import 3D from the library or 3D from the CAO software to create your own simulation. So if you have more questions, if you want to be able to test this software, you have access. You can access to our website miranda.software. You have you can ask for 3 months to test the software, or you can also go on our website ARAI France. I will link them in the chat when you can see also all our other products more based in the industry side and the automation, as you can see with the robots simulation also. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Laurent. With that, we're moving on quickly to Austria and Christian from IncubedIT. Over to you, Christian.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the invitation. My name is Christoph Zehentner, and I'm product owner and one of the 7 founders of IncubedIT. Yes, you heard right, we are 7 founders and actually already 30 people working here at IncubedIT. And as you can hear from my lovely accent, I'm from Graz, Austria. At IncubedIT, we believe that autonomous mobile robots will become a commodity in every warehouse and every production shop floor within a couple of years from now. And we believe that software will be the key aspect for robots to become actually part of every warehouse, every production line. And that's why we developed over the last 9 years a robotics platform that turns any vehicle, any HEV into an autonomous mobile robot. And how that actually works, you can see in a nice little YouTube video. And I will let it run while I'm going to speak. Over the last 9 years, we invested and innovated a lot in areas like localization, so let the robot know where it is, navigation, natural obstacle avoidance, all this stuff that makes a robot go from A to B naturally. And we have seen that this technology is...
Oh, I think there's a, can you extend, guys, not share their screen? Sorry, Christoph, please could you share your screen again?
It doesn't matter. And we've seen over the last years that this technology has become robust enough to actually serve 24/7 industrial applications. And what is needed now to get larger fleets into the real world is easy use. And what is easy use for us? On the one hand, it's easy hardware integration. So we need to get our software as easy as possible onto new hardware models. It's easy implementation of customer projects. So the software needs to be applied as a consumer-like product. We often compare it to a TV. You're going to select the TV in the shop and then you just use it.
Oh, sorry, Christoph, just to, can you share your screen again? Some of the attendees are really keen, so. Sorry.
Sorry for that.
Get an extra half minute there.
And it's, on top of that, it's easy connectivity. So our fleet management server, for example, can be installed in the cloud, making it possible to attach it to multiple add-on services such as analytic platforms, other host systems, ERP systems, whatever. And in the end, easy usage on the shop floor itself. So it's not only about a usable or easy to use user interface, it's much more. So the whole robotic solutions must be easy to integrate and smooth to use. We always say smooth is the new smart. And on top of that, or to do that, actually, we developed a software platform that consists of three main parts. On the one hand, it's the Smart Shuttle Navigation Toolkit, as we tend to call it. That's the navigation and localization stack that runs within a robot. It's the second part is the Fleet Management Server, which coordinates a fleet of heterogeneous robots, and on top of that, data monitoring and analytics. So that customers get an insight what is actually going on their shop floor. Some numbers towards that, we have more than 300 shuttles deployed worldwide currently running on our software platform. And for example, the biggest fleets consisting of 40 shuttles runs more than 1,000 kilometers a day. This 24/7 and since 2014. But there's more than just robots driving around. The robotics projects consists of multiple steps, and the whole life cycle can be covered by our digital twin. So going from the planning phase, where you can simulate a site up front without actually having robots there, you can see how the process will look like, how many shuttles do I need, going through the development and testing of this installation through go live. So you take the data that came from planning that you adopted during the development and actually put it in production. So that's a nice thing to take such a solution in real production from home, even from your home office. It's much more convenient than sitting in a 4 degrees cool warehouse. And when you have a support case, for example, we just load the data from the live installation back into our digital twin, simulate how could that happen, how could maybe a bug fix the thing, or a change in the configuration, and so on. And last but not least, when you have process adaptation, you can write it up front in the digital twin, see how your KPIs vary, and you can even suggest changes to the customer up front before him knowing that he has maybe something to do, to tune, to improve. Yeah, that's basically it. I somehow hurried through it. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. I've given the contact information here. And once again, thank you for organizing that opportunity. I'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Christoph. So just 2 quick notes there. So there's a question for Fizyr in the Q&A, and there's also one for you, Christoph, but that was in the chat, if you can just look at that. So anyway, thanks for that. It's a very exciting kind of solution that you developed.
Thank you.
With that, anyway, we're moving over to Extend Robotics in the UK as well, and Geelong, I believe, if I pronounced that right.
Sorry, yeah, Chan to you.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chan. I'm the founder and CEO of Extend Robotics. We are a human-focused robots startup in the UK. So our vision is really to extend human capabilities beyond physical presence. So we build affordable robotic arm capable of remote operation from anywhere in the world using a cloud-based teleoperation software. So our technical founders are postdocs and PhDs from Imperial College and commercial leadership from Huawei. So really the background is that the new trend of digitalization and automation is transforming almost all industries, and new technologies are approaching the slope of enlightenment, and the new challenges like labor shortage, aging society, and the pandemics are forcing our society to look for new technologies and adopt them faster. And all of these contribute to the exponential growth of robotics as we see today. So sales of service robots has exceeded 17 billion in 2019, and the forecast to reach 40 billion in 2023. So it's a big market. Of course, I cannot avoid talking about COVID. 65% UK office workers believe working remotely will become more common even after the pandemic. And in many traditional industries are really like showing the need for remote working, even for physical tasks. So it's the worst time for human, but maybe the best time for robotics. The fact is that still over 50% of the jobs cannot be easily automated by today's robots due to the limited dexterity and intelligence of autonomous robot, and the low scalability and high cost of the traditional teleoperation robots. However, now many of these operations have a strong desire for to avoid human presence. But how can robotic help with this? Since 1950s, teleoperation robots and autonomous robots are kind of complementary in terms of balancing the cost and the dexterity. However, what people really need is in this background is a robotic system that is both affordable and can provide flexible dexterity they need to complete the job remotely and reliably. So really, our solution is that we're building a next generation teleoperation robot, which is an affordable VR-controlled multi-purpose robotic arm accessible from anywhere in the cloud. So this works as a physical avatar of the user to perform manipulation or teleoperation task remotely. So we call it the Avatar Twin. So our Avatar Twin is a robotic manipulation module to be integrated into existing robots like mobile robots. So technically, it includes 3 parts: robot toolkit, advanced mechanic assistance systems (AMAS), and imitation learning engine. So our robot toolkit is a versatile add-on module with human-like dexterity and perception. It is an affordable multi-purpose robotic arm optimized for mobile teleoperation. So it features remarkably high power-to-mass ratio with 6 degrees of freedom, utilizing a high power density quasi-direct drive brushless motors and lightweight optimized design with advanced parallel mechanism. So it's also integrated RGBD sensors and powerful computing unit for data processing and control. And we still manage everything in one package in a quite low cost. So our AMAS is a powerful VR software which provides immersive 3D perception and intuitive control for high dexterous teleoperation.
30 seconds.
Oh, with low cost consumer equipment. So it's developed in an efficient point cloud streaming pipeline and the gesture-based control graphic user interface. And really utilizing the 3D point cloud perception gives user the accurate sense of depth, flexible viewpoint, and avoid motion sickness. While the digital twin-based gesture control gives user an intuitive interface to send complex control signals effortlessly. So our imitation engine is a cloud-based imitation pipeline enable anywhere access and flexible data-driven AI. I'll just quickly jump through that. yeah, so if you're interested, you can go online in YouTube to check out our product walkthrough video. And yeah, thanks for listening. I'm sorry about the
excellent. Thanks, Chang, for that. Very interesting. With that, anyway, we jump over to the last presentation. It's a note from ARS Recruitment. If we have any people looking for work these days in the robotics sector. So with that, over to you, Sam.
Thank you. Let me just share my screen. Can we all see that okay? Cool. So thanks for the invitation. My name's Sam Robinson. I am the owner.
You haven't shared anything yet.
Oh, no.
No.
2 seconds then.
Just a note again, feel free to field any questions in the Q&A tab, and we will try to read them out later or respond to them ASAP. There you go.
There we go. Lovely. Sorry, so yeah, I'm Sam Robinson. I'm the owner of Automation Recruitment Solutions. I set the business up in February this year, just before COVID struck, and really specialising in automation and robotics recruitment. Just want to talk about a few things today, mainly the client top tips for hiring. The market is picking back up now, and some people are after, specialised staff. So I just want to put a few points out to specifically being competitive. There's a lot of people within automation and robotics that are looking for the same type of talent, same type of skill set. And really, you need to start thinking about what separates you from the other people. It's not always regarding salary. Candidates in the market these days are looking for more benefits in terms of flexibility, career development. And then think about the interview methods that you are actually using while hiring. Are they formal interviews now? Are you now switching over to Zoom meetings, team meetings, and streamlining your interview process so the candidate is fully transparent with how many stages that interview is going to take? And as I've just touched on, there's not a great load of talent out there at the moment, and it is spread thin within many companies. So there's different options to consider. Are you taking the graduate route, or maybe not so much on the technical roles, but on senior management and direct roles, taking people out of the industry that bring different methodologies, different ideas. It found that with a couple of clients that I currently work with, it's a great way of bringing in new ideas into the business. I just want to talk about the candidate side of the thing very quickly. And if you are looking for work at the moment, it's very important that you're making your CV very clear and very precise to the type of skills that you have and to why somebody should want to hire you. I would include including your achievements onto your CV and making it very clear what you can bring to the business. And then if you are selected for interview, I think preparation is very important. You need to be doing the research on the business. It's one of the interview questions that are asked every single time. What do you know about us? And you'd be surprised how many times that catches people out even today, which is bizarre. I would recommend doing some interview research on the managers that are going to be actually interviewing you for the role. And on top of that, I also suggest potentially doing a route planner, Google Maps, to see where the interview is, how long it's going to take you, even do a practice route. It's only a short presentation, but I saved the last important part till last, and that's your LinkedIn profile. So it's a public platform where everybody is on, or should be on, if they're looking for work or if they're looking to hire. Your profile should include your contact details, a picture of yourself, making yourself visible so people can contact you for opportunities. Recruiters like myself use it as the #1 go-to to find talent. And if you're not on there and if you're not making yourself visible, there are other people out there that are. So if you need any support or any help with anything regarding your LinkedIn preparations for interview, or you're generally just looking around, I'd love you guys to get in touch. I'm more than happy to help, even if it's just the guidance. So with that, it was only a short one. Thank you very much for the invitation, and back over to you, Thomas.
Yeah, so thanks for that. So that kind of concludes all the presentations. So we can now go over to Q&A session, and let's see here, I'll share my screen. So so first of all, if any attendees, if you want to contact us, just take a screenshot now. And there is one question for Fizyr. if you've worked on any application where it's necessary to pick up items using a robotic arm located on a mobile robot. If so, what experience and challenges have you found?
Okay.
Pretty precise, but yeah.
I can answer that. Actually, a lot of people think about it that way, replacing a human, both walking around and picking. But it's not an interesting application for a robot for economic reasons, because if you have you want to have the robot continuously picking to have a decent ROI, return on investment. So let's say every few seconds the robot should be picking. So ideally you have a goods to person or a goods to robot situation where the robot can continue picking. If you have to run around, and apart from navigation, and it becomes harder, but then picking would be, let's say, once in 30 seconds max, maybe once in a minute. So it doesn't support the investment of a robot.
Interesting, thanks for that. So feel free to field any questions. I have a question myself, perhaps. What, if anyone wants to pitch in, what has your kind of impact been from the pandemic? How has business changed for you? Some must have had quite a positive impact, some perhaps slightly negative, or any type of impact that you want to talk about. Perhaps Herbert wants to answer.
Yeah, sure. So first, we're shocked, of course, and we had an estimate of all projects being put on hold, and so we had to survive for a year. But soon after, I think in less than 2 months, we saw that our key clients, like Fabric in Tel Aviv and New York, they are picking groceries for delivery at home. They said full blown, we go ahead, and so it's they increase their speed, and so we're working harder for them. And then I would say the last 3 months, all parcel handlers they have so many increases, and so they want to have more picking cells. So if it's DHL, UPS, Federal Express, PostNL, UPSS, so all of them have a shortage of people. All of them want to have picking cells in the near future.
Interesting. Anyone else? Christoph, perhaps? Any?
I would say it's the same story here. At the beginning, we have seen that everybody has put his projects on hold because of fear, maybe. But actually, it's rising again, and rising much more than it was before.
Yeah. Interesting. What about Owen? I know you haven't had any, you're kind of out with your beta, but how do you see the pandemic?
No, absolutely. It was so obviously it was a shock, and it was a big shock to the system, and I think we all had to rethink a bit about how we were going to actually run the companies moving to working remotely. I actually wrote an open letter to the robotics industry at the start, which got picked up by the kind of Robotech and Robo Business News, and got quite a lot of essentially saying to a lot of the bigger companies and the investors, this is going to be a hard time for the robotics industry, but we are also part of the solution for the future. So let's make sure that we all get through it to the other side. And actually, that's what we're starting to see now ourselves. We're seeing a huge inbound interest coming from our side. Investors are starting to see that robotics is something which is going to be, I'd say it's even been accelerated by all of this, because a lot of the larger companies have been thinking, okay, how do we make ourselves more robust into the future? So absolutely wish it wasn't wish it wasn't here, but I think the net benefit might actually be positive for the robotics industry, which is quite bizarre to say.
Interesting. What about from Alias side, Enrique in Spain? How did you, what was your experience of the pandemic?
So I do share what most of the previous speakers on the content that you guys shared. It has pretty much become the same for us. So we had to move to, let's say, to fully working remotely for a while, and most of our customers have suffered the same. Now back to the new normal, we have witnessed that some of our customers do have, let's say, reduced teams within the shop floors. They do have they have a lot of constraints when it comes to, let's say, physical contact with people and so on. And why not? They have moved towards remote monitorization of the robotic processes and so on, and they have identified increasingly security as a warrant for business continuity. So it's up to us, as Owen said before, to be shaping this very new future and to be able to adapt effectively to these new conditions that will very likely stay for a while.
Interesting, thanks. What about Extend Robotics? What so having remote control of yourself, or must have been quite an interesting business to be in during the pandemic, or?
Yeah, I guess we're being quite lucky because our whole solution is around remote working. So especially being able to have a intuitive user interface to allow anyone to control at least a robot arm remotely. So we're hoping. I mean, it's clear that there's a huge need now, not only for remote working, not only in ICT domain, but also extending that into a physical domain, and that's exactly what we could do. For example, if so many university labs that just close and people cannot continue doing testing, and even any company labs that just require physical work and that just has to be closed, and no one can access the location. But just imagine if someone could just remotely control a robot continuously working on their projects. Yeah, that's exactly what we can offer.
What about Sebastian at HAL? Any impact at all? Any interesting?
So, I mean, as a software company, working from home is a bit easier than probably for a hardware company. But yeah, everything is slowed down a bit. I think we're going to see everything go up. Particularly, we've had a bit of contact from our SME manufacturers who are struggling to keep as many people in their facilities, and would like to automate out some of the less interesting jobs, which is something we saw before the pandemic. It's just spurred some of those people back into action. But yeah, I mean, software is relatively easy to move between locations and work on remotely. Yeah, it'll be okay.
Laurent, France?
Yeah, so fortunately for us, it was a great opportunity. Not opportunity, but it was unfortunate for this. But as we work in the simulation side, in the industry, that doesn't change anything for us. But in the education, as we make simulation, Miranda is a product that we came out in February, so just before the pandemic. And so students were actually using the software. We gave it for free during the pandemic for them to work from home on the programming the robots that they couldn't do in schools with the quarantine. So it was really became popular in the schools, Miranda, and so it was fortunate for us that we read this.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's been hard for everyone. So there's one question from Robert online. So again, about how it's kind of talking about the pandemic impact as well, but it's specifically related to how customers or end users have reevaluated the way they access and they deploy capital, with it perhaps looking at CapEx versus OpEx type investments for robotics. Perhaps, Herbert, do you want to have a stab at that as well?
Yes, I can. We support both construction, both CapEx and OpEx. We even can invoice per pick. That's really up to the client, so we're flexible on that. But we haven't seen a big change in that. There are integrators and end users that want to have CapEx and other want to have an OpEx model. So we are just flexible, I would say.
Okay. What about Philip? We have Philip is obviously sponsoring the event, but is also a system integrator working quite a lot with end customers in the UK. What's your kind of insight of that?
Yeah. So I mean, from our side, we've seen a lot of consultancy. So especially for the bigger guys that are looking into the new types of robotics, but they're a bit hesitant with the actual placing orders and placing POs. I think they're getting the consultancy, they're getting the understanding of what they need to do, ready to hit the order button. And then for the SMEs, depending on the industry, if it's obviously aerospace have gone quite quiet right at the moment. But yeah, definitely on the consultancy side, obviously everyone's interested to see how this technology is going to help them. So.
Interesting. Anyone else on the OPEX versus CAPEX kind of, or I'll say preservation of cash? So, or anyone? Otherwise, I mean, I'm just writing a really big report on the AGV sector. So AGVs and AMRs, autonomous mobile robots, and have interviewed about 55 to 60 companies. So what we've seen is that there is, in the past years, like 2-3 years ago, people talked about RAS models and leasing models, but no one really kind of entered into that. But now we're seeing that customers are coming back and asking for these models. Sorry, you talked about this before. Can we rediscover that kind of the RAS type models? One of the challenges is that not many of the customers or the end users allow, I'll say, robotics fleet managers or controller software on kind of on cloud. So the business models look slightly different. It's only the lease that's really available in most cases anyway. I'm not sure if that's true for everyone. Anyone else on the OPEX versus CAPEX? Cash preservation? Otherwise, we have one very specific question as well, which I can't see now.
I think I remember the question. It was to us. Was it hard to migrate from C++ to Rust?
That's it. Yeah.
I'm the least person to answer this question in my team, but what I've witnessed is that, of course, it's a big change, because you invest in something to replace. It doesn't bring you direct benefits. It's really long term for your client. So it's a really strategic decision to go for the highest quality. And as you know, Microsoft decided to also migrate to Rust instead of C++. So that's a really indication how important they see this decision. So we had to train people, we had to make new plannings, all the stuff. So we invest a lot in this migration. Yeah, it's tough, but we believe we want to go for staying the best, and this is one of the key elements.
Okay, excellent. Thanks for that. Also brought in Microsoft into the question. So we have a few other Q&As as well, but I think we're running slightly over our time now. So we have had the webinar for 1 hour, 10 minutes. I think that's it, unless there are any really pressing questions. There is a question for IRAI regarding a simulator. Perhaps you can answer that.
Yeah, I was typing, but yeah, there's an editor in the software, so you can edit pre-existing robots, so add a sensor or, for example, clamps or something. But you can also create your own robots, import your 3D, and build the Swatch blocks or the Python command to command it directly inside Miranda, so you can test it inside the challenges or see the difference between the robots we have in store between yours.
Yeah, I recommend also any of the attendees, just remember this will be online as well on the YouTube, so will be able to see the links and so on again. I think with that we'll close down this webinar. Big thank you to all the panelists who've given their time for this, and hopefully you'll get something out of this, some nice connections or whatever. So to everybody from Europe, have a really continued nice evening to everybody from the US. I hope you have a nice day. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.